Hey everyone, welcome to the Member Spotlight. I'm Teresa Stanton of the Bag Makers Workshop, and today we have a wonderful member who has been with us since the beginning of time and absolutely love her, Claret Belle. I'm sure lots of you know her and you know her from the bag making community, but there's probably a few things about her that you don't know, and we're going to learn that today. I met Claret when I first started doing these workshops back in 2021, and she was in my very first workshop. And I'll tell you, I'm probably speaking for a lot of people when I say this. There's something very magnetic about Claret. The moment you meet her, you instantly love her. And she is just so warm. She has the most gentle, soothing voice you'll ever hear. And she's just such a treat. Anyway, let me bring her up and let's get started, okay? Here we go. Hi, Clarette.
Hi, Teresa. How you doing?
I'm good. So good to see you once again. You've been such a busy gal that we haven't seen you much lately. But it
That is
sounds
so
like,
true.
yeah, and it sounds like what you've been doing is pretty interesting. So we're going to talk about it today. But why don't you go ahead and do a little bit of an introduction for everyone first?
Okay. I'm Claret. I'm 84 years old and I love crafting. I love sewing. I love anything that has to do with my hands. And more than that, I love showing people, other people, how to do those same things. In fact, that was all the messages all throughout my school year. If Claret would just quiet down and not want to take care of everybody else, but I enjoy it. That's me.
That's awesome. I love it and sounds just like you. Really does. So I present Clarette with a list of questions to answer so we could have a conversation. And Clarette, one of the things you mentioned in your questionnaire is that at one point you were a process engineer for Navstar International. Can you tell us what Navstar International is and what is a process engineer?
Navistar is well, I'm going to say was because it was just sold.
Oh,
I want to say within the last few months.
okay.
And it was a truck manufacturing facility. There were two locations. There was their initial location in the city of Springfield, and it did all the moldings for the parts of the truck. And then the new facility was out on what we call Route 68, which had office and the assembly line. What that meant was say that there was a new truck on the horizon, maybe service problems out in the field. So therefore, that initiated situations where engineering had to come in and sometimes new models, a new technique. So then they would initiate drawings and everything that was a backup for that particular technique or manufacturing of the truck. So what that entailed was we as process engineers, depending on where we were, some of us were responsible for bringing in the parts. Or if the parts weren't ready available, then we had to send out bids and everything for different manufacturing facilities so that they could make those particular parts.
Hmm.
And then that also entailed different types of techniques on the assembly line. So we had to coordinate with the different places online. My most favorite job was I worked in the frame room. So therefore, all the holes had to be punched for the different accessories or whatever was on the truck. We did the great big trucks. Peterbilt, and I'm trying to think, some of the large truck manufacturers were some of our competitors. But
Oh,
that was so much fun. I mean, the holes had to be right. I mean, they
yeah.
told me the coordinates, but we got to be interested. We got to be in with all of the different parts. I was there for 30 years. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
towards the end, I was like in that situation, I was ready to come home, but I wasn't ready to come home. We were, our arts and craft take finances. So
Yeah.
therefore,
Sure.
I liked the
Not ready to
job.
stop that.
Right, right. So they started closing different plants. So therefore, different people were coming into Springfield for other positions. So therefore, the people that had the most service had I'm 84, so I'm thinking of words here, you guys.
That's okay.
They gave us opportunities whether we wanted to be laid off or stayed.
See,
You
I
know, so
see.
I was
Mhm.
at the time where I wanted to be laid off.
You're like, yeah,
We had full pay, you know,
no,
and
yeah.
so I was off for about a year. And then after that year, I was ready. It was retirement time. And
Okay.
so then I retired. But
Yeah,
it was fun. I mean,
that
it's like
sounds
all of
fun.
our jobs, we are with our workers, 8 hours a day,
Hmm.
and all of us had our groups, the groups that we had the weekly dollar pool. So, you never knew when the man was going to come
Yeah.
in for the floor, the great big bag of dollar bills. And I
Yep.
won that. I won
Oh,
that
wow.
twice. Yeah, it
Congratulations.
was
That's
really
awesome. You're a
fun.
lucky
Yeah.
girl.
Everybody's names were on the dollar bills.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
That's
came in, it
great.
was on a Friday, right before the holidays, and I just laid the bag on the table. So, the girls came in, they said, Mom, what's all this money? I said I won it. Oh, they had so much fun bundling all the dollar bills and everything. It was
Oh,
fun. There were fun
that,
days.
yeah, I bet. It sounds like you really enjoyed that. That's really
I,
neat.
di- I did. I enjoyed that.
One of the things I ask about is if you have a motto. And I love your motto, Claret. You said in your questionnaire that your motto is school is always in session. And I
It
love
is.
that. Please tell everyone where did that come from? What inspired that?
There, well, my mother and father, with them, there was always an opportunity for something. You were going to learn something. The exposure that they had in the community, plus we were. So, I mean, it just seems like I was always in a position to learn something. And I just always said to everybody, school is always in session. I mean, even today. Because of this situation and talking to you for the interview, I wanted to learn how to do a video. Never had done a video at all. And so
Wow.
I just thought, how am I going to do this? Lo and behold, the course that I just got certified from, I met a young lady and her, along with some of the other girls, I mean, I got the basics. And
Yeah.
it just seems like that's always happened for me. Like when I wanted to do the handbags, and then I found out about the bag workshop. So we have our Zooms.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
result of that, there's like five of us that we used to meet a lot, but now with everyone and their different responsibilities, we get together and we sew. And
Yep.
of course,
Yep.
Joanne's, you never went in Joanne Fabric without coming out with a phone
Right.
number or somebody told you how to do something and more bags of fabric than what was
Oh,
budgeted for.
I love that. You're so right. You're so right. I love the fact that there's been such a bonus to these workshops, and that's where friendships have developed from them.
Oh, absolutely.
Love that. I think that's great.
Absolutely. It,
Love
it
that.
is every opportunity, especially with the different ones. We, when we were younger, we sold TV guides.
Yeah.
Well, that was wonderful, but I could never make it home on time because some of the ladies or families that, we delivered our TV guides. I
Yeah.
mean, some of them sewed, some of them
Yep.
cooked, and they had children my age. We just sit around there and talk, and then it's like, and why are you coming home after dark?
That's fantastic.
It
I
was the
love
same thing. Yeah, we had newspaper about too. It was the same
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
with
yeah.
that. Yeah.
You know, you speak about your parents, and from what you've said about them, they sound like they were very special and very kind, loving, wonderful parents. But you also mentioned about your father, and you said that he suffered a lot from his intelligence, and that was because he was a gentleman. Would you mind talking about that?
Well, evidently my father was black. And in fact, um, Dad just always was stayed in production mode. I mean, he started out as a mail carrier, and then he was inside clerking, and then he made superintendent or supervisor in city mails department. But he always wanted to stay on top of things. And at those days, back then, we did not have zip codes. And
Oh,
everything, all the mail was distributed by routes. So there was a box, just like a regular cube box that we've seen in all the offices. And each box was numbered for a route. And when dad would be, in the evening after he'd come in or whatever, he'd just be just throwing mail. It was just to keep himself up on it because there were deadlines,
sure.
of when all the mail had to be pulled out for the carriers and everything like that. And it was something, but the only thing about dad, he was a progressive. He stayed up on the times. Um, he was just there for everybody,
Hmm.
no matter what. And so at that particular time, there were people from the Greek community that were coming into Springfield.
Okay.
So Christmas time, you know what Christmas time means in the post office. Other
Yeah.
than overtime, it means busy, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So the people would come up to the windows. So some of the gentlemen, they didn't care to be bothered because some of them, they had the dialects. Some of them didn't really speak good English. So, say, hey, Lonnie, come and get them over here. Dad would be so embarrassed by that. He'd be embarrassed for the people, but then he
Yeah.
would be embarrassed because someone would just be that vocal. But I mean, you know,
Yeah.
human
I
beings,
got
we
got
got it. So,
exactly.
but what dad did at one particular time, he made a suggestion about zip codes. Or not exactly what I want to say zip code to say, well, he did that, but it had something to do with numbers and routing. And it was just like, what a ridiculous idea. It was like ridiculous. Who would have needed this, that? And, every time that he passed a test back then, EEOC, dad had to notify them to come in to look over his test because
Mm,
his test it was all marked up and everything like that.
mm,
And he got a lot of criticism for that, even from the
mm.
people that he worked with. But having that attention come to Springfield like that, some other people got promotions,
Oh,
because of
yeah.
that. And,
Yeah.
he would be the one that would do the initial complaints. But then when they'd have the interviews of who wanted to talk to somebody about it, their line would be coming out of the door, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he spoke several languages. He liked
Oh,
languages. And when he was in college, he was there on football scholarships.
wow.
So therefore, all the other team members, they were upstairs. But then dad, he had to go to the basement. But he always said, all of the other porters, they took care of him. They saw that he had a real nice room. He said he got the best room service. And some of the guys, they said, well, oh, Lonnie, we hate we have to do that. Daddy said, yeah, yeah, because despite that, he always made a good situation out of whatever. That was the thing with him. He had a gentleman who was an Italian that he worked for when he on Saturdays, the fruit markets and things like that. And he was like Dad's mentor, and he was responsible for Dad converting to Catholicism.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so we all went to, Catholic school and
Okay.
everything. But he was Dad was really something, and he was really respected. He just did what he had to do. We knew when it was time for tuitions to be paid because he had his suit on to go
Oh,
talk to the
wow.
gentleman down at the bank. Yeah,
Wow.
you know what I mean? I mean, it was what it was.
It sounds like your father always figured out how to make the best out of maybe not such a great situation, and that,
He did.
a challenge for a lot of people to do that, and that he obviously passed that on to you as well. So,
Yeah, and we had a piano because we all took music. So
yeah.
people, the kids in the neighborhood that didn't, they wanted to play, but they played by ear. And they just come, Mr.
Wow.
Bell, can we play on the piano?
Wow, that's very impressive.
It
Very
is.
cool.
It really was.
So let me ask you, Clarette, what got you into bag making?
All I know is I was collecting patterns
Yep.
and, cutting out patterns. And the first bag that I made, I loved, and I had to tear it apart.
Oh,
And I really didn't have to tear it apart. But you know how that perfectionism, gets, well,
mhm.
this has got, no one would ever, have ever known.
Yes.
But that was a cotton bag.
Okay.
So then, you start seeing the leather and you see the vinyls, and then, you have one sewing machine, and then you have to have this sewing machine. Then you got to have the cylinder arm sewing
Right.
machine,
Right.
and there we are.
And there it is. It's just kind of a big, big rabbit hole that we
And I
all
always
go
loved
down.
pocketbooks. I
Exactly.
loved pocketbooks.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I started out just with little, just the small bags. And then
Mhm.
by the bag workshop, we had the Zooms, on TV and stuff. And then we'd always have the uh, replays if we
Yep.
had to do a thing. And of course, we had to have the notions. So, yeah, I have scissors.
Yep.
I have,
Well,
we have it all. You know how that
we
goes.
do. We do. And I think we all start out as pattern collectors and fabric
Yes,
collectors.
yes.
And sometimes
Oh
I
my
think those are
God.
two separate hobbies. Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
because I enjoyed making clothes. I made my husband's suit. I made all my maternity clothes and some
Wow.
of the girls, but we, by being in uniforms, we never had to make any decisions about what we were going to wear
Oh,
to
that's true.
school
Yeah.
until May. During
Yeah.
May, we could, wear whatever we wanted to wear.
Wow.
So I enjoyed it. And like I said, I knew a lot of people that sewed,
Hmm.
and it made
Yeah.
it fun. And we'd be in the bleachers because we all had children that played ball, and someone would be knitting or cross stitching, or that we were hemming something. You know how it was.
Yep. Yep. I totally know. That's awesome. I love it. So, I want to talk about some of the things that you're into now because we haven't seen you in the bag making for a little bit, and I know you've
Yeah.
been busy, and I know why. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to share. This is, I hope you can see that. This is a coloring book that Miss Claret designed, and she was selling. This was back in 23, and I'm just going to show you some pages out of this, okay? Just like stunning, stunning drawings. You see that? It's just amazing. And it's supposed to be a coloring book, but there's no way this 3-year-old colorer would ever put any damage to these beautiful designs. So I brought this up to Clarette, and she thought, well, this, it's a good thing that you're talking about this because this has helped her transition into what she's currently doing. So, Clarette, let's talk about what you're currently doing.
Okay. Um, just to repeat what Teresa said, Everybody loves the coloring book. And my sister Alice had just recently passed. People would call her, Alice, I want Claret's coloring book. So my other sister said to me, Alice is selling the books out of the trunk of her car. I said, Dolores, she really is. People are calling her for the books. We just love that.
Oh my
But
gosh.
anyway, but nobody is coloring in them. I
Yep.
see even my relatives. Oh, I'm not coloring in that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a coloring book and I'm going to practice. I said, but you're missing the joy of coloring it. No, I'm not going in there and make that mistake. So we were coloring one evening on one of the groups. I needed, um, I use Copic colors because we using them for days when we were doing cards and all that kinds of things. And I was looking for a shade of purple. So I asked one of my friends, I said, you know what, do me a favor. I said, would you go into the browser there and just look up and see what kind of colors they have for Copic markers in purple? So she gave them to me and I wrote them down and I couldn't get that out of my mind. I said, well, even for me, and I color, I hate that deciding, because I don't have that formal art training or, I know the color wheel, and we'll see which one goes with this one or, how that works. Anyway, I just kept fooling with it. And like everything else with AI or whatever, there's always a group, even with that coloring book, that wasn't all me. You know what I mean? There were friends one day we got in there and they were showing me words and we were, using words for the promptings and everything. It gets to be a very neat collaborative system, as far as helping each other. So
Sure.
anyway, I got to working with, I got to working with it, and then I had a one-on-one with some different people. And what I ended up with is Color Whiz. And what Color Whiz does, it gives you color palettes. That's was the original intent. And I thought, because the system has the data, then I don't know why it would not have the data as to what types of colors and brands, they would all that information would be available. So, and that was happening. Well, I mean, we just started just I just started looking at stuff there and just one thing just led to other. I laid around with this thing for about 2 years
Oh, wow.
because there's different mindsets that you have about things. Well, I'm not this and I can't do that. And you know how you do it. Well,
The negative
when
talk.
nobody, who's going to do this and who's going to do
Yeah.
that? All that. I call her Chatty Cathy, working double time. Anyway, I guess about maybe a year ago, I did start with it and I kind of promoted it, but with hesitancy, all of that inadequacy, still, building up and everything. And so this past 6 months to a year has been kind of difficult with Alice passing. My daughter's been sick. So I had time at the hospital and stuff with Lori. And I started going back over notes and I said, I'm going to keep on working with this. And in the meantime, our generators, and we call large language models, they're getting better. Even with that, the dresses now, when I take those through the generator, are far more progressive and advanced than those. I mean, the lines are clear, there's different spaces and stuff like that. So I started thinking about people, even like myself when I first started coloring, who want to color. They want the joy of coloring, but they don't want that. What am I going to do? How am I going to start? And looking at, oh, look how they're coloring. Well, maybe those people have been practicing. You know what I mean? They've been consistent, but we don't think about that. We just think of the downsides about
Right.
us. And so we just came up, come on, let's just do this. So here lately, I've gotten very serious about it. In fact, I hope to launch it formally. Um, I have also got some plans. It's going to be classes around color my way, color your own way. My business is, I got to look over here, DigiMe LLC, and I want people to enjoy coloring. We also got involved with a nursing home, and the ladies, they like doing little arts and crafts and things. And I've even talked to another lady in the community not too long ago. I'm going to get back with her because there are a lot of things that are involved with people who are in the nursing homes.
Yeah.
You still have the same things of communicating. You're with, you see people every day, but you still are standoffish about some things, and everyone is dealing with something. They're getting older. I'm getting older. We think about when, the clock's going to stop, where
Yeah.
we are, on the yardstick. So it just started just really, really staying with me to let someone or help them enjoy what they want to do. So it is, can they see the screen, or I'll have to share, won't I?
Yeah, you'll have to share. Claire, let me just ask you,
Uh-huh.
this being able to select colors, would this be applicable to those people in bag making that struggle with selecting colors?
Well, we got an avenue for my bag making
Oh,
plans.
okay.
And that came up because of a post
Okay.
on the bag making group one day. A
Okay.
lady had some samples of the fabric she was using.
Hmm.
So I scanned them. I took the file into my program. And of course, it had the colors and not black and white. It was the actual colors.
Yeah.
And it gave the information about it. I
Okay.
didn't do anything but just put the file in. And I asked, because I think the lady wanted to know, she was concerned about the fabric or colors for the lining. I think that
Okay.
had something to do with it. And it spit it right out. So I can't even remember now who or when, but anyway, I took the information and I made a file out of it and I sent it to the lady.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
after that, I got to thinking, well, come on. In fact, the other day, there was a article about, because you know how it is with the designing and laying that pattern out. And so it was talking about, if I'm looking at a pattern, actually you could tell what pieces needed the seam, which one. I mean, you actually came out with pattern pieces with the measurements.
Okay, wait a second. So,
Let me
okay,
give
we're
you an
talking.
example with
Okay.
your pocketbook.
Okay.
This is your lovely bag. Can you
Oh,
see it?
yes. Hold up, just a little higher. There. Okay, your
Okay.
camera's
All
moved a
right.
bit. There we
And
go.
and
Okay.
this,
Mhm.
I love
Yes.
this bag.
This is a Maggie 55 design. It is the Sweet
Hmm.
Juliet, just
Yes,
FYI.
it
We
is.
made in a workshop.
And
Hmm.
I don't know if you can see the inside, but anyway, I took some pictures. Okay. All right. Someone, they see this bag, but maybe this bag already has a pattern,
Hmm.
but maybe they want different variations. Maybe
Okay.
they don't want it as long. Maybe they don't want it as wide. Maybe they want an outside zipper out here. The bottom line is, once you have these measurements here,
Hold it up a little bit
looking
so we can
at
see where
this.
you're pointing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Once
Yeah.
you have the different measurements, because you've got the front and the back,
Right.
you've got this center seam here.
Hmm.
Let's just take that for instance, because You know what this measurement is. Now, what's on the other side of this? That's a seam.
Right.
So it's going to be folded under. And how
Right.
much is that seam going to be that's folded under?
Mm-hmm.
Your seam allowance. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them are 1/2 inch, some of them are 5/8 for our clothing, but
Right.
most of all with our sewing, we're doing what, 1/8 inches
Three
for top
eight.
stitchings and like that.
Right, right,
But
right.
anyway, the lady explained she just laid it out as if it was a flat piece.
She laid the bag out.
She laid the bag out. It just showed it like as if if it was not all in the all pieced together like this. I'm
Okay.
trying to think. It was a cute. It was black and red. It almost, Teresa. Let me tell you what I thought about. I thought it looked like the bags when you guys do them by hand. When you do your
Mm-hmm.
flat stitching,
Mm-hmm.
and you know how you're going that initial piece that has to be modified by the time you finish it. It's not this whole exact piece that you
Right.
started with.
Right.
Anyway, what they were trying to say was that you could make your own pattern, those that did not have the design education.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, it was really kind of puzzling to me. At first, I thought, I got to get this. Well, I have a learning file. The Chat GPT shows me how I learn, how I understand things.
Oh,
So
wow.
therefore, I gave it all the specifics of the post and I put in my learning file how I learn things. And I had it right away. I was so tickled with that. But now I didn't want to make a bag. But you know what I'm saying? That is not my forte. But I just thought it's just another way that people can learn things when they don't have the opportunities to be in the classes,
Mhm.
or you know what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
people are busy. We have a lot of responsibilities today. We've got children. We're raising the children. We're raising ourselves. And
Raising
so
grandchildren.
therefore, any shortcut helps, you know.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's exactly what I finished the class I just finished that I got certified for. That is not just about giving descriptions to get images. It's about finding a framework of something that you do repeatedly that you want the same results.
Results. Yeah. I
So
like
it's,
that.
that and that's the bottom line. I mean,
I like
there
that.
are some things that you want to be guaranteed of the finished product without having to worry, oh, what's it going to be like?
Is it right? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
So
All right.
anyway,
So let's share your screen so that
okay,
you want to
and
show
you'll
off
see
what you're
how
doing.
this looks. Can they see? Can they see it?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so this came out of my program
Okay.
because I am not a designer, but this program knows what it can do. And
Right.
it's about designs, it's about color. And so, therefore, I explained to it that I wanted a post, a banner size, because I will be putting this on a website for my program to be sold. So therefore, I have to have caption information. I wanted some type of a design information about it
Mm-hmm.
and my logo. And this is what came up.
That's awesome.
And now the text, I didn't use it on this, but I also have a program that I can ask for different types of fonts because
Okay.
depending on situations, invitations, parties, banners, posters, the sky's the limit, you
Right.
know. And it gives suggestions based on what you're writing,
Wow.
that you're designing. So this is what came out of my program.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the
Very
other
nice.
thing is,
Yay.
okay, no laughing.
Nope, no laughing.
Okay. Now let me make sure that all the soldiers online here. Whew, this is a breathing moment.
Okay, here we go.
Got an idea, let's make it look bright. With DigiMe magic, your colors take flight. Markers in hand, yeah, we're ready to slay.
I love my song.
Create it, claim it, color your own way. DigiMe, creativity set free. Memories, colors, and digital ease. DigiMe, where dreams become yours.
That's so cute. So let me just clarify. You created the song in ChatGPT, right?
Hmm.
And you just gave it the prompts
Hmm.
and it created the song. And did it create the jingle or just the words?
Okay, what happened with the jingle was we went into Suno.
Okay, I
And
don't.
then when you go into Suno, then you put the words and then you tell the beat or what type of music, instruments, or anything.
Wow.
And so I tell you, it started out really rough. So there's been renditions
Well,
of
you know
this.
what? I think it's great. I love that it's you in that video. I love it. It's so cute. You
And
did
I
great.
have another avatar, but my friend helped me put it to this one. So I just stuck with this one. I said, I don't want to change nothing because we had to change it this way, that way. But
Yeah.
this is how it happens. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody just jumps in and we have classes or groups, just like we do with the
Yeah.
bags.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you have people, I mean, like everybody was just excited about me with the certifications and everything is just as if it was their daughter. You know what I mean?
I
And,
think
and
that's
all my sewing buddies, they just they,
that's awesome. Claret,
thank
you
you.
are so impressive that, I don't want to point out the fact of your age, but the fact that you're doing this at your age, coming from, let me just say, coming from the same generation that I did, that we did not grow up with computers, right?
Oh yes, I saw this come into being. Yes.
I'm just saying, you are rocking it, and I think that's fantastic. And girl, thank you so much for sharing this with everybody
Oh,
and
I was so
showing
happy to tell
off.
you.
And once you get all the your ducks in a row for this, please share that information in our group so that people can join if they're interested in the
I,
coloring.
I, I
I
certainly
think
will.
I
And
think that
if
would be great.
anybody ever, we have a wonderful community. I mean, there's just nothing that you cannot learn. And take what you need and leave the rest. Now some people stay with one group. Me, I'm all over the place. That's my personality. I don't want to miss nothing.
I
And then with my sports at the same time.
Yes, of course, of course. That's
Teresa,
priorities.
thank you. Thank you. You
Yeah.
remain one of my favorite people. Me and Teresa.
Oh, oh, you're awesome, Claret. You are definitely one of my favorite people, and just enjoyed not only just seeing you, but learning everything about the things that you've got your hands into, and how creative you are, and how you're just expanding on it every day. And I think that's fantastic.
Thank you too.
Yeah.
God bless everyone.
Thank you,
Take
Claret.
care. Take care.